we're going to look at how to do the rhythm Lego activity with a little bit of a challenge. Now, we've talked about having the Legos represent the music notes, but this time we're going to change which Lego represents which kind of note. So, I have here a stack of notes, and I want to think of this stack as starting with the biggest kind of note and going down to the smaller kinds of notes that we use. So I'm going to quickly write here the choices of notes that we could have. Now, if I start at the top of my stack, I'm going to count the number of dots across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to have this one represent my whole note. Now, we usually think of a whole note as being 4, which it is. It's 4 beats worth of rhythm. But in this example, this 8 block is going to represent the whole note. Music and math have a lot in common. So when you think about your whole note as being 4, then you have to think about how is the half note related to the whole note. Well, obviously, because of its name, the half note is half of the amount of time, or the amount of beats. So if the whole note is 4, and it's represented by this one here, which has actually 8 dots, it'll make sense in a minute. Then when I take that off, let's see if I can take it off without breaking my stack. Oops. When I take it off, now I have 2 halves, same size, but broken up into 2 halves. So here's my 2 half notes. Each of them actually is going to be represented by a 4 brick Lego, but I'm going to call that my half note. So my half note is 2 beats. Now, a quarter note is going to be what's going to come next. So if I take off my 2 halves, I'm going to have to put this down so I don't break the whole tower. If I take off my 2 half notes, now I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 separate notes fitting into that same space. See, here's my half note. There's where the other half note was. Still the same big size as that whole note, only now it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 2 little dots, but we're counting it as 1 beat. So that's our quarter note equals 1. Now the reason why I wanted to do it this way is so that we can have it be eighth notes. This is going to be a little tricky. When I take off this layer, now I have 8 different little Legos. And each one of the Legos, if you can see here, is just 1 brick wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is where I have my eighth notes. So the eighth notes, remember, music and math are related. We have to divide it in half every time we go down. So now the eighth note is actually only worth half of a beat. But we usually don't see a single eighth note by itself. Well, a lot of times we do, but at this point we're not going to talk about that. So most of the time what we see is we see the 2 eighth notes together, and they take their little flag and they go across to make a beam, and that is how we get the eighth notes. 2 of them takes up 1 beat. I know this is a lot of kind of confusing. If this doesn't make sense to you, don't worry, we'll keep going over it until it does. But what I want to talk about now is how can we make a rhythm using these options. So I wanted to have the eighth notes as an option because then you can make a more interesting rhythm. So down here I've written a rhythm. But before we get down here, I have my tower. Now it's in reverse. So I have my 8 single Legos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That represents the eighth notes. Then I have my 4 of this size Lego bricks. Remember, these represent the quarter notes, so ta, 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 ta. Then I have my 2 of the bigger ones. These represents my half notes, ta, 2, ta, 2. And now in the bottom layer is where I left my whole note. This represents the whole note, ta, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here you can see my rhythm pattern that I made. We're going to go over this one, and then I want you, if you have Legos at home, I want you to make a rhythm pattern for yourself. So here's the one that I made. Remember, this represents a ta, These guys represent eighth notes. So ta, ti is how we would say it. So we would say this pattern like this. Ta, 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 ti, ta, ti, ta, 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 two, ta, ti, ta, ti, ta, ti, ta. Would you say it with me? And you can clap along. I can't clap because I'm holding the board. So say it and clap it with me. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, 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 ti, ta, ti, ta, 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 two, ta, ti, ta, ti, ta, ti, ta. Now, I made mine in groups of measures. You can see where I left these little divisions. I decided to have my measures be 4 beats each. You could make your measures 4 beats, 3 beats, 2 beats. You could make them bigger sizes, but usually 4, 3, or 2 are the main ones that we would use. So I decided to break mine up into groups of 4 beats. So if you look at my big whole note Lego, see how this measure is the same size as it there. This measure is the same size as it there. And this measure is the same size. So it doesn't matter how many little Legos are in it, it's the same size. Each measure is the same number of beats. So after you've made up your own Lego pattern using beats, using the different rhythms, then you want to actually write it down on a piece of paper. So this is how my pattern would look written down. So here it is using Legos, and here it is written down. I made the tas, the tatis, and the half notes. Tatis are interesting. They can be combined in different ways. I decided to combine 2 of them together. See how there's tati, tati, like that? So I decided to make that all as one group here. Over here, I decided to keep them separate, just to make things interesting. Tati, tati, tati. So there's 3 separate ones there. So you can combine, you can have them in a group of 2 or a group of 4. We won't usually see them in groups bigger than 4. Okay, now the next step, if you're ready for a challenge, well, wait, before that, this is the next step for everybody. We want to divide our music into measures now. So I'm going to write my time signature. That tells me how many beats are in each measure. I want to put 4 in each measure, remember? So I put my 4 here. Always has a 4 on the bottom. For right now, that's what tells you the quarter note gets 1 beat. Okay, so now I have to count. 1, 2, 3, that's a beat. 4, that's a beat. So there's where my bar line goes. Boop, there's my first 4 beats. Now I start over again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember that one gets 2 beats. Boop, there's my bar line. Here's my beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I put my bar line at the end. To show that it's final, I'm going to do a nice thick double bar line, single line, and a thick one. That's called a double bar. That's your stop sign at the end. If you wanted to repeat it, you would put your little 2 dots, and that turns it into a repeat sign. Here's my rhythm written out in music notes instead of Legos. Okay, now if you're ready for a challenge, this is the metric counting. Every beat starts with a number 1 through 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's more in beat 3 and beat 4, so I have to use that and. So 3 and 4 and. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need any ands on this one. Lots of ands I'm going to need here. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4. So let's clap and count that one. Would you clap and count it along with me? Ready, go. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And there's my metric counting of the rhythm that I wrote. Your assignment is to write your own rhythm using Legos if you have them. If you don't have Legos, you can skip this step. Just go straight to writing the rhythm on a piece of paper and then writing in that metric counting. Now for a final challenge, for those of you that this is very easy, you can go ahead and add in the smaller divisions. So you could add in your 16th notes, 1, E, and A. The difference between the 16th and the group here is that the 16th has 2 beams across. See if I can make that. Okay. And it is all in one beat. So some of you would like to do this. I know you will. Let's see if I can write it quickly. I bet you know what I'm going to do here. You've guessed it already, haven't you? See? 4 beats worth of 16th notes. And how are you going to clap and count that? 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. See that? You got to leave yourself enough room if you're going to do that. So you would clap and count this like this. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Now, if you want to make the whole rhythm all 16th notes, that's fine once. But after that, add your 16th notes in and just use some of the other rhythms as well. Otherwise, it gets kind of boring. Have fun.